Hi guys, and welcome to this week's collective reading. Wishing you all equinox blessings. I know some of us listening are in different parts of the world, but here in England, it has been rainy and stormy, and it's felt very cleansing to me. So I'm really entering this reading and leading it with this energy of cleansing. So let's get into the cards. So we are starting off with this Arise card, which I think came out in the collective reading quite recently, like just not last week, but maybe the other week or the week before. But this is all about rising up to our truth, which will really come into play when we talk about this Knight of Swords down here. But this Arise card reads at the bottom, know and flow as the love you are, and bliss. And I mentioned this the other week when we had this card, but this is the opening card or the first card within this particular deck. So it's significant as it's marking a point in time where we have this choice to start with a new cycle or a new beginning. And I say we have this choice as the energy is present, but ultimately you have the choice to embark on this new adventure, right? To arise to this challenge. And it may not feel like the easy choice at this moment, but resisting this invitation will probably lead to more disharmony down the line. So it's often when we think that we are choosing the easy path that down the line we wish we had chosen a different one. That's why we have that saying that hindsight is 20/20. Exists for a reason, right? But irregardless, there is a choice to be made now. We don't know what the future brings, but if you can align with your truth and let that guide you, well, the next card that we have here is abundance. And right now we're here at the Harvest Festival. We're at the equinox. But I'm seeing this abundance card as almost being a year out. This is what we are arising to. What are we shedding now so that we can have more alignment with our truth, so that when the next equinox arrives, I'm talking about the spring equinox because that would be the next one, right? Then we have clear vision for the seeds that we wish to sow, right? We have clear vision for the goals that we are working on. That at the next autumn equinox, right? So in 2025, you have an abundant harvest. And this is not to skip over the current harvest season, right? To bring yourself into alignment with this energy today, to celebrate the harvest season today, the equinox today, a practice of gratitude, right? For what you have already accomplished this past year. right? To see the abundance that you do currently have, being thankful for where you are. This is a really good start to working with this arise energy, right? And this doesn't mean that you have to pretend you are happy. If life is feeling pretty shit right now, because that is just the reality sometimes, but we can always reflect on things and take the lessons and choose to grow from them, right? And find gratitude in the process. Forgiveness is really important, as that forgiveness releases a lot of the energy that we hold in that prevents us from being able to feel true gratitude. I know I've mentioned it many times, but Ho'oponopono is always a really good practice to lean into. It's incredibly healing, right? And Ho'oponopono, if you're not familiar with it, is telling yourself repetitively, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And you treat it almost like a mantra. And in the repetition of these phrases, you allow yourself to connect with and feel the emotions attached to each individual phrase, right? And Ho'oponopono is actually believed to be an ancient practice coming out of the Lemurian epoch. Which is understood as the epoch that the moon separated from the earth. So from this point in time, the earth was held in balance between the sun and the moon. And this separation, placing the moon outside of us as something to perceive. And this was also the epoch that humanity was grounding down into a more physical form, right? So at this time, the human form was more plastic, right? And I don't mean plastic like a plastic bottle, or actually it kind of is like a plastic bottle. Plastic as we think of it today, right? It is named plastic as it is an easy, as plastic is easy to shape or mold. And that's the meaning of the word plasticity, right? So we had form, but it wasn't as set and firm as it is now. I think that this is why when many of us remember a life in Lemuria, depending on how far back in this epoch you reach, the details can be harder to make out. We weren't really etheric beings anymore at this point in time, but we also weren't in a solid set form either. So you could think of us more as being shapeshifters. And as the epoch progressed, we came more and more into the form that we are familiar with today. And this is why Lemuria specifically is an epoch where our memories can seem so vastly different. Or some people believe that Lemuria was this way and other people believe that Lemuria was this way. By the time the Atlantean epoch came around, things were more solid. So the details we can bring out of regressions or psychic sight are easier to make out. So there's a lot more that is agreed upon as a result. But when we reach back to Lemuria, as things weren't so solid, There's a lot more fluidity and flexibility or plasticity to the form, and that makes the remembrance just as different for all of us, if that makes sense, I hope. Now, I don't think I actually finished talking about it. So with the separation of the moon from the earth, or some, you could call it the ejection of the moon, the importance or the significance of this is that a new rhythm is established on earth, right? Because now we have the moon outside of us, creating a new rhythm, right? And Lemuria is remembered as a time where we were closely connected to and in sync with this rhythm. Because now we have a monthly or monthly rhythm. We have moon cycles to follow along with the sun cycle. And the moon cycles help establish the cycles of the sun as well. We operated in more of a hive mind at this time, as we hadn't progressed into our I yet as well. So very different from this Arise card, where we're talking about knowing who we are and knowing our truth, our individual truth. In Lemuria, we were working with the community. So on this card here for Lemurian quartz, there's this like gold key here. There's actually multiple keys. And Lemurian quartz is quartz that has been encoded by the Lemurian civilization. And this encoding holds keys of wisdom that were seen as important, that they didn't want to be lost in time. So Lemurian quartz, the coding is actually in the form of barcodes. I don't know if you can see this, but it's literal striations on the quartz that you can visually see and that you can run your fingers across to feel. And if you have a Lemurian quartz, or it is within your means to obtain a piece, it's calling you right now. And if you don't, right, you can use a piece of clear quartz and intentionally call in the energy of Lemurian quartz to connect with it. And if you don't have any crystals, you can still just close your eyes and hold this image here in your mind's eye and ask to connect, right? And this connection to Lemurian quartz right now, it serves to bring a key from the past, right? From this different lens of being. Remember, we were more plastic. We were really connected to the rhythm of the earth in connection to the sun and the moon. We were operating from a hive mind, as we hadn't developed our I yet. And you can imagine how at this time, where we are arising to our truth and knowing who we are and what our goals are, really establishing our I, how there is now, especially it being the autumn equinox, a shedding that needs to occur first. We are releasing. I've personally been feeling Sekhmet's energy very strongly. This destructive phase that is here for our highest good. That is Sekhmet's energy. Tearing away or burning away all that does not serve us at this time, so we can rebuild when the time is right. Right? And connecting with Lemurian quartz will help bring through a key or keys that will help you open the door to these new pathways that you have the choice at this time to arise to. Now, the reason I keep highlighting the word truth specifically is this card right here depicts Hilarion, who is an ascended master and a member of the Great White Brotherhood, who is seen as the Lord of the Ray of Healing and Truth, the Lord of the Emerald or Green Ray. Now, as a tarot card, this is the Knight of Swords. So Hilarion is here to help us align with the truth of who we are. Knowing who I am. This is developing your ego. And knowing yourself requires alignment with your truth, right? Knowing what's important to you. What do you want? Shedding the feeling that you need to change yourself or present yourself a certain way to please others. In supporting us to see the truth of who we are. Hilarion works with us to marry science and religion. Because believe it or not, belief in one does not discredit the other. Right? So in marrying science and religion, we can start to find the links that bridge these two pathways that are often separate in our society. People often feel that they either have to believe in science or they have to believe in religion, and that there's no middle way of being. And bringing balance between science and religion really brings peace to our soul, to our monad, to the I am. And the balance is found in our quest for truth. And it is no surprise that this is the perfect timing for this message and Hilarion to come through, as a week from today or next Sunday is Michaelmas, or the Feast of Saint Michael, who also works with us in this quest for truth and balance. And then a month from now, so a full cycle, October 21st is Hilarion's feast. So I really feel that Hilarion will be staying with you for this full month, if not longer. But I don't think that this is just for this upcoming week that we will be looking at working with Hilarion. If you do some research on Hilarion, because, we'll be working with him for at least a cycle, maybe he's here for this full cycle, this full year into the next autumn equinox. But Hilarion was a weaver in his physical life, right? So before he became an ascended master, when he was just human, he was a weaver. Or he became like a hermit. And he wove to make money. But as a weaver, right? Weavers help us to find connection points because they weave things together. So this is where we can reach back to Lemuria and take a key of information and find how that is connecting to and serving us for what we are working through and trying to achieve today. Like, what are we trying to arise to? Right? So Hilarion, he holds this sword to help us cut away the dross so that we can connect to the purity of who we are. So what is left when you remove everything that doesn't serve you? right? And this last card on the table, this is the Magician, but this is a very special Magician. As this deck has two separate sets of major arcana cards. So you get the set that are normally in the tarot. And then as the arcana, the major arcana, right, it's a cycle, or the whole tarot is a cycle. What they've got is a second set of the major arcana cards called the Return Journey. So as a cycle, it's seen as the higher octave of the original journey. So this Magician is like the regular Magician, where he knows he's in control, that he has the power to create his reality, right? That he already has everything he needs within him. But then as the higher octave, he's faced his shadows head on, right? He doesn't hide from them. So this is like when you see the obstacles that are present in your life and you have this, this bring it on attitude. It's like when you see what life is throwing at you, and instead of cowering or hiding away, you choose to rise above, right? Because you know you can take it on, right? You've done this before. This is the next cycle. Everything that you need already exists within you. So you do not meet the difficulties in life with fear. Instead, you're ready to face them head on. And that is this week's reading. I hope it has been helpful. This is not an easy energy to be in. But with the shift in perspective, it can definitely be viewed as an exciting time in your life. It may be like the hindsight is 2020 thing, where you might not realize how exciting this time is in your life until you go to the future and you look back. Unfortunate, I know, but you could choose to see it as exciting now. If you can frame your mindset that way, even if things feel difficult. Easier said than done. I absolutely understand that. But irregardless, let's carry this bring it on energy forward. And as always, I am wishing you all the best, and I will speak to you next week. Bye, guys.